Hey everyone, I'm back again with another video, and in this one I'm going to show you the new little office kind of space that I've been working out of lately. And just cause, I felt like it was a good time to just kind of do an update on it. I did a tour of the last space I was working out of where I do most of the podcasting stuff from back in like 2022 kind of time frame. It is on the MikeWitmer Podcast YouTube page. You can find it below somewhere. If not, I can always link it. But that just kind of showcased the last little space I was working out of. But this one gives me a lot more space and everything. So without further ado, I kind of want to show you a little bit of what I got going on in this new little workspace. And unlike the last time, because the last time I did a tour, I had a bunch of videos out on the Underachievers Podcast page and early kind of MikeWitmer Podcast YouTube page kind of time videos there where you kind of saw before, like the space I was working in before I actually gave the tour. This time it's actually the opposite, where I'm giving the tour and there really isn't going to be too much. I did do a solo podcast earlier, so that should be out already. If you haven't seen it already, again, another one I'll just link below. But that's the first podcast I did in this spot, in this space, and the one I'm going to be doing for the next foreseeable future. So we'll see how this kind of space kind of works out for me. But without further ado, let's kind of get in on this tour. Also, at the end of the video, I'm going to show you kind of what my last little workspace kind of looks like now with all the stuff kind of out of it. So to start it off, this is the door just to get into the room. And if I just pan this way, just get a little glimpse of the room as a whole. But the first thing I'm going to do is kind of show you this little shelving unit. If you are familiar with the other space I was working out of, it is not the same one. I didn't take stuff out. This is actually a smaller, shorter one. The other one is still in the other room, and I'll show you each individual cubby. But first, I'll show you above it, where is, yes, this is proof I did graduate from college. I went to Bloomsburg. And then we're going to go down a little bit, and the hats and everything are pretty much still the same that was in the last cubby, just a lot smaller of a cubby here. But this first one here of Walt Disney Imagineering, we move over to this World Champion Phillies hat from 2008. Got some more hats down here. If we go down here a little bit, got a couple more of these little guys that I got brought over from the last little space. And this is where my Lego kind of section starts. Over here we got obviously Ghostbusters, and on this side Back to the Future, which actually just celebrated its anniversary, so feels kind of right to kind of keep it up, right? And then obviously these are still relics from the other room, Big Ben, and obviously Wally here. This is actually a newer edition. I never actually showed it into the last tour I did, but it's something I created after. It was still in the background if you didn't notice before. It's a set of the Seinfeld Lego set. And if you don't know me already, that is one of my favorite shows. So it obviously makes sense. And it was a Pollyanna gift from my brother one year for Christmas, so I had to make it, of course. Then we go down a little bit more Pollyanna gifts. This one, little boy band Cartman pop, and one of the tubes from Monsters Inc. little drink or cup. Then we move over to some more hats. An Avengers hat I got from Universal Studios the last time I was down there. Another hat. Go down another one. I got some more hats. My selection of books, essentially. This little notebook is something I got from my brother's wife when she first got here. She gave everyone this nice little notebook, and I just kind of use it as art because I kind of like the design of it. I got a yearbook that I never actually bought, but somehow managed to get from Bloomsburg, and a couple other little books. And that film reel is from Oppenheimer, from when I went out to see that back in 2023. And then we move over to the last little cubby section. And again, I mentioned this camera back in the last tour, but this is one of the first cameras I was kind of using back in college. Again, the audio quality on it was very bad, but it was still a solid camera other than that. I got a couple other Disney magic bands back in here in this basket. And then we go down to the last little section of the cubbies. We got another hat, Lego directions and stuff, an old iPad I don't use, koozies from bachelor parties I went to, and then this last little section is just empty baskets. And kind of like that other tour I did, I'm probably going to reference this a lot. This whole space is kind of a work in progress. This is just kind of what it looks like at the moment. It's obviously going to change as I get more used to the room, kind of the layout and everything, and obviously little things here and there are just going to change, obviously. But yeah, let's continue on this tour. So moving away from the little shelving unit, we move down to this side where this picture frame, this poster isn't actually going to really be staying here. It's going to move at some point, but it's a Creature of the Black Lagoon poster. And then we're going to move down this way to more of the living area where we got a chair and obviously a little couch behind it. Just a little sitting area and stuff just because, can't spend a lot of time at the desk or at the podcasting site. And then obviously this is just where I have stuff for video game controllers and other kind of storage kind of thing. And above the couch we have a poster of Cinderella Castle. I do like this poster. That's why it's one of the things I felt like it was important to hang up. I'm moving on a bit now. We've just finished this kind of corner of the room. We're gonna go to this side before we see the desk and everything. I got this Jamaican guy about 15 years ago or so back in Jamaica trip. A long story short, a very adventurous kind of vacation to say the least. We got a closet here with a bunch of just kind of thrown in junk at the moment, not really worth kind of showing. The light that I showed that was in the last room. This hockey stick never really showed up in the last room, but if you are a fan of the Underachievers and from the beginning, this hockey stick was in the background a lot of many of my kind of shots. Still in the room, just on the side, kind of a sports kind of side, which is why I also added this little Phillies poster. Philadelphia Freedom, it says. Has a bunch of different Philadelphia icons and sports teams and everything on it. Thought it was a pretty cool poster, so it just made sense to add this to my collection as well. Moving over here now, where I have a couple gaming consoles, an Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and obviously that means there's obviously a TV right here. That's the only thing that's just kind of hanging out. There's no art or anything above it. And then this desk is just kind of be used as kind of a nightstand or table, just kind of to hold all that stuff, make it a little bit more organized. But yeah, that's just this whole little section, this kind of half of the room. And then we're just going to move on to the next little half of the room. Actually, the first thing we're going to show is the new podcasting location. Still the same table that I've always been using for these podcasts. Same equipment, same everything, same microphone, pretty much everything. Tripod's going to be a little different in terms of the solo podcast and stuff. It's going to be kind of behind the table, as this camera is a little bit more heavier for this smaller tripod to kind of use, which is the one I used with the other camera for doing a lot of solo podcast kind of stuff. But it still works. The last podcast I shot, the only podcast so far that I shot in this room, I did it from there. I think it turned out pretty well. And this is another poster that, again, probably isn't going to really be staying in here, but is a nice little poster. It's of Django Unchained. And we go down this way, got a couple windows. And then my desk. This is the same desk that I had in the other room. It's going to show up a lot in the backgrounds of many shots and everything. And obviously this is the one way I could keep. It's kind of an inside joke with Jeff and I on our good buddy of mine who I do the Underachievers podcast with, and the MikeWitmer podcast, where he gifted me this after a bet. Again, it's something I've mentioned in that other video as well. But again, I had to keep it somehow in the background of many of my shots, so that's where it's staying for the time being. And then I'm going to show a little close-up of the little shelf, some newer kind of knickknacks and stuff I'm going to kind of have in the background. So as I get a little closer, we got a couple other little knickknacks and stuff. We got this little Goofy. This is another guy that's about 15 years old and my brother wasn't using anymore from that same Jamaican trip. A couple hand sanitizers during the COVID days, my Sonos Roam, some art kind of piggy bank of the Campbell soup can. Little stuffy animals of the Pyongyang 2018 Paralympic Games. You go up a little bit. If you're wondering where I'm keeping the old camera and stuff, it's going to be on this side next to this picture of Wally and Eve. And there it is with both mics that I did do a review on, the Tiki Sakai mic and everything. And then we got another hand sanitizer, then another little speaker. We got a little hockey puck, one of those Flyers Santa sack things from years back. And then these little guys that's from Kubo and Box Trolls from the Leica movies. Behind the desk we have obviously the chair I was using. It's kind of just going to be as a desk chair, not necessarily at the moment used for podcasting stuff. But behind it, this is another poster that I kept from the room, which is just this picture that, again, I think my brother took back when our many Disney trips and everything that I really liked and felt like it was important to kind of keep in the background and everything. And the last little thing I'm going to show you here is another poster of one of my favorite movies as a kid, The Iron Giant. Of course, I had to put this up in the background as well. You're probably going to see a lot, mainly these two kind of posters in many of the shots for my podcasts and everything. But yeah, that was a quick little overview of pretty much the room I'm kind of working out of for the time being in terms of podcasting and editing and all that kind of stuff. Nice little home office kind of place here. So again, all this could change over time, but at the moment, this is just where it is. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, and many times when I do these kind of tours and everything, it's pretty much a work in progress. So it's going to be another work in progress kind of area that I'm going to work out of for the time being. Again, I'm going to show you an overarching kind of view of the room from kind of both sides. Kind of showed you it from that side of the room. Going to show you from this side, and then with that, I'm going to show you the basement. But outside of that, that's all I really got for this video. It's a pretty short one, I know, but I just kind of want to show you a quick little tour of the new space I'm going to be working out of for the time being. But yeah, with that, follow and subscribe to this YouTube page and everything. And with that being said, I'll see you next time. Here's another shot of the room from this angle. And you may at times see the Cinderella Castle, maybe the edge of it on certain shots, depending on how I have things set up. And then from this side, and lastly back to this side if you were just walking into the room. And like I mentioned, here's what the room currently looks like that I was just in. A lot more empty. All those cubbies are out except for the one thing that's left over for my brother. And then obviously the pins that aren't mine and the Third Man Record banner. But yeah, this is kind of what the state of the room kind of looks like at the moment. It's all empty. Almost no traces of podcasting and anything else that was in here.